John Coffey, Jack, Hayes was born in Wilson County, Tennessee in 1817. At the age of 15, he moved to Mississippi and joined a survey party. An adventurous young man, he heard of the stand at the Alamo and decided to move to Texas. He arrived in Nacogdoches in 1836 and assisted troops under the command of Thomas J. Rusk in burying the victims of the Goliad Massacre. Shortly thereafter, he met with Sam Houston, a family friend, and joined Erastus Duff Smith's company of Texas Rangers. Through his service with the Rangers, he became acquainted with Lipan Apache Chief Flacco, who instructed Hayes on Apache and Comanche battle strategy. He gained experience as a Comanche fighter, soldier, and surveyor. During the course of his Ranger service, Hayes participated in the battles of Plum Creek and Walker's Creek, among other numerous fights and skirmishes. Along with the introduction of the Colt revolver, his knowledge of Comanche war tactics helped survey parties defend against attack. Hayes moved to California in 1849 and was elected sheriff of San Francisco County the following year. In 1853, he was appointed to the post of United States Surveyor General of California. Hayes retired from military service at the onset of the Civil War. He died in 1883 and is buried in Oakland, a city he helped establish. In Texas, Hayes County is named in his honor.
Dr. Harold Weiss, noted historian and author, said of Jack Hayes, "The Texas Rangers gained a national reputation in the Mexican War. Into Mexico rode Hayes's Rangers. Out of Mexico came a mounted, irregular body of Rangers celebrated in song and story throughout the United States. This transformation in fact and fiction started with the formation of the 1st Regiment Mounted Riflemen under Colonel Hayes."
This painting, entitled Jack Hayes at Enchanted Rock, was painted in 1851 by artist W.S. Jewett. The Legend of Jack Hayes at Enchanted Rock. According to information from the Hayes family, this painting was commissioned by the captain's wife, Susan, while they were living in San Francisco. Painted in 1851 by W.S. Jewett, the painting commemorates Hayes' legendary fight with the Comanche at Enchanted Rock. Although the artist has taken many liberties with the landscape of the Texas Hill Country, the representation of Hayes is accurate. The legend of Jack Hayes at Enchanted Rock is that in the fall of 1841, Hayes is cut off from his company of Rangers by several Comanche. Hayes sought refuge at Enchanted Rock and single-handedly holds off the Comanche until his men are able to find and rescue him.
Renowned art print and Texas history artist Gary Crouch has produced the first collectible for the Texas Ranger Bicentennial in 2023. Licensed by the Texas Ranger Hall of Fame and signed by the artist, the prints are illustrated with badges, firearms, and historic images from the collection of the Texas Ranger Hall of Fame. The print focuses on the Old West, evoking the ranging companies of the Frontier Battalion. A resident of Burleson, Gary began his art career as a medical illustrator in the U.S. Army in Vietnam. He received the Bronze Star and his unit was awarded a Presidential Unit Citation. In civilian life, he became a sought-after commercial artist and designer. Gary creates art prints on historical topics that sell internationally. The 24 by 30-inch prints are signed by the artist and available for order for $45 unframed from the Texas Ranger Hall of Fame Museum store. Proceeds from sales of the art prints will be used to update museum exhibits. Purchases can be made at the museum's gift shop or call 1-877-750-8631 to order.
Surveying is the science of determining the position of points and their angles on the surface of the earth. Records indicate that surveying was practiced by the Egyptians as early as 1400 BC for purposes of taxation. Surveying in Texas was first practiced to describe and map the boundaries of Spanish land grants. As settlers began arriving in Texas, these lands were further divided by additional surveys. Even today, surveys give property owners an accurate description of their land and acreage. They are often used to settle disputes over the location of property lines, to divide land, or to plan future development. A person who conducts land surveys is known as a surveyor. A good surveyor has a high attention to detail in every aspect of their profession. They apply their investigative skills in the field and the office. In the field, surveyors use their understanding of trigonometry and measurement to determine land boundaries. Even though surveyors today use GPS, global positioning systems, and digital technology to gather data, it is still important for them to understand how to use traditional surveying tools. During the colonial, republic, and statehood days of Texas, it was not unusual for a man to combine the duties of Texas Ranger and surveyor. While on the wild Texas frontier, early surveyors had to defend themselves while practicing the science of land measurement. Therefore, it was logical to combine the two skills into one. Beginning with Stephen F. Austin, surveyors were required to use the vera as the standard unit of length and mark every corner of a survey by carving the owner's initials into trees. Every property line was marked, and careful notes and plats were made for each survey. The surveyors used a compass mounted on a Jacob's staff for determining direction and a veratrain for measuring distances. While a typical survey party consisted of a surveyor, 2 chain carriers, trailblazers, a cook, and a guide, many parties were accompanied by armed guards. Under the Republic government, the General Land Office was created to collect all land records and determine which lands were vacant and which had valid titles issued by Spain and Mexico. All vacant lands were now public property and were to be given to the land commissioner. After Texas was annexed into the United States in 1845, it retained control over its public lands. In spite of the availability of better equipment, many inaccuracies have been found with surveys conducted during the land boom of the late 1800s. Surveyors oftentimes wrote field notes of lands they never visited, particularly when locating railroad grants. Many surveys overlapped or had vacancies between them. George Bernard Erath was born in Vienna, Austria in January of 1813. He enrolled in Vienna Polytechnic School at a young age to study English and Spanish. To avoid being drafted into the Austrian military, his family sent him to America. He arrived in New Orleans in 1832. In 1833, he moved to Mexican Texas and became a surveyor in Robertson's colony before joining the Rangers in 1835. He was involved in several fights and skirmishes with the Comanche and fought at the Battle of San Jacinto. After being elected to the state's first legislature, Erath returned to surveying. He was involved in creating plats of numerous settlements during the course of his life. He laid out the towns of Caldwell, Stephenville, Meridian, and Waco. During the Civil War, he recruited men as a home guard for Brown and Coryell counties. In later life, Erath was highly respected as an expert surveyor and mentor. He became known as the walking dictionary of the Land Office. He was often called upon to offer legal advice with regard to boundary disputes and land vacancy. He died on May 31, 1891, and is buried in Waco. Erath County is named in his honor. George Erath, with his sight gone, his hearing failing, concluded his memoirs with these words:
As in early times, so through my late years, I am still called upon to give information on land affairs. I am besieged with questions, and through letters I cannot see to read, requesting me to study up information and to explain how land came to be located thus and so in time of different laws and different usages, for the present generation knows nothing of the difficulties that surrounded surveying 40 or 50 years ago.